Welcome to WagerTalk TV, where it is wild card weekend. Guys, I'm Kelly Stewart, joined by Preston Johnson and Marco D'Angelo, and we're going to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles at the Chicago Bears. Current line is 6, total of 41. I'll give my opinion on this one here in a minute, but I want to hear what you guys have to say. Here's an Eagles team who's been playing really well with Nick Foles under center, and a Bears team who's just superseded my expectations since October, essentially. Marco, I'll start with you.
Well, I'm going to throw a stat out here, and this is from our good friend Gil Alexander. I do the NFL Megapod with him, and today when we did that, in the NFL wild card round, if you just pick the winner, 89% against the spread. The number does not come into play in most of these wild card games.
Wow.
And that's up from a season average. The regular season is 83%.
Was it a couple of years ago where you could tease both sides in a teaser, and I think all 8 sides hit?
And it actually, Caesars, and you could ask Caesars, ask your buddy Matt, he wasn't there yet, but the very next week, Caesars did no teasers.
Didn't even let him.
No teasers, which was the absolute stupidest thing to do because all of the lines were 3 the next week.
Everyone would have teased it, and that's what the teaser action you want.
Yeah, you want them taking that small favorite to the small dog, which is, we've talked about that several times. That's not a wise way to go.
That's our teaser 101 video.
Yeah, but it's St. Nick to the rescue. Nick Foles has come in since Carson Wentz went out. They win 3 in a row, but let's be realistic about it. They caught the Rams the week after the Kansas City game, or not the Kansas City game, the Chicago Bears game, where they were fighting for still the number 1 spot. When they lost that game, they had basically no shot to get the number 1 spot. You would have needed the Saints to really fall flat. And we talk about it in college football. That's the Dream Crusher game. I think they came back to L.A. after the Chicago game, in which they really got beat up by the Bears defense.
Especially offensively, yeah.
Yeah, and they figured we just had to show up and win because it's the Eagles and it's Nick Foles. Then the other game, you look at, they went 5-1 down the stretch. 3 of the 5 wins were the Giants. Do we have to say any more about that? And the Washington Redskins twice, that are absolutely the most depleted NFL team down to their 4th string quarterback, and they had a ton of offensive line injuries before that. So they really don't have the quality win for me that that I can back them here. Yeah, they beat Houston, but Houston went up and down the field on them too. The only concern I have with the Bears is this is Trubisky's first playoff game, and that's the X factor there.
I think he's absolutely the wild card. Sorry for the crappy play on words. I used it in the presidential address too, but it's so funny because I do think that you're right. He played the Eagles last year, had the worst game of his rookie career. I understand he's now a year wiser and stronger and better, but it doesn't really matter to me. Laying 6 points with Mitch Trubisky is kind of unnerving.
And he kind of hasn't looked the same even since he returned from his shoulder injury. Even against the Niners, he struggled. And then just this last week against Minnesota, they were able to get the win in a game people weren't even sure if they were going to try to win intentionally. But I had a friend of mine who mentioned that he thought he had a limp down the stretch of that game, which nothing's been reported. I think he's fine, but if he's a little banged up, he still was coming back from the shoulder injury. There definitely is, I think, room for worry there. A guy's first start in the playoffs. I actually like the under some. My raw number is 39.4. It's 41 across the board now, which isn't quite enough of an edge or discrepancy to make a bet. At 42, it would be.
It is the lowest total, which it
on
makes
the board,
this week. So it makes me think that it's that low for a reason.
For a reason, yeah. I mean, Chicago, they went from maybe being they were like a fringe top 10 opponent yards per play team until the last 6 or 7 weeks, and now they're actually tied with the Ravens for first in the NFL in opponent yards per play. And the Eagles, I know that they got the Redskins last week, but they did play the Rams and Texans, and they're only giving up 4.8 yards per play since Foles came back, and he's more of a ball control, game control quarterback anyways. And 4.8 is actually where the Bears and Ravens sit, so that would be ranked there, top tied for first in the NFL. So it pushes towards an under game, I think. Ultimately, I'd need 42. There was a 42 in Vegas I did bet some money at myself, but it was the only one that existed. And so unless it gets bumped up a little more, I wouldn't recommend to play on it.
So we talked about this in another video, possibly now that the Bears are at 6.2 team teaser. Maybe you talked about how you did the Chargers
Seahawks and Chargers.
Seahawks and Chargers in a teaser. Maybe the Bears. Possible. I don't know. I'm looking at it going, I don't see the Bears losing this game.
I don't ever tease a 6-point favorite down to 0. So that's just preference, or 6.5 even. So I would need it to be like -7.5, which it's not going to
The math guys say that that's not a positive EV play. So
Okay, perfect.
One last thing I'll throw on Chicago. As good as they've played down the stretch, remember that they did this playing 4 of their last 6 games on the road. And who were their 2 home games? The Rams and the Packers. So, I mean, they've played a tough schedule, the Bears. They've done everything that they've needed to do.
Soldier Field is going to be rocking, and it is going to be cold.
So almost as cold as it is in the studio today. Kelly's been complaining all day, and Brian.
I just have no clothes on. That's the problem. You guys are, except for Preston, are all in like nice suits. Sorry, that was not meant to be a dig on Preston. All right, guys.
No one's ever seen me in a nice suit other than one time. I think there was one time like 3 weeks ago.
He told me he has a bow tie, and he's going to wear it for me.
Next
All
time.
right, guys. Check out our other videos up on WagerTalk TV, and it's $9 Monday at WagerTalk. Get all of our daily pick packages for Monday's action, college football, NFL, NBA, everything you could possibly want, priced at $9, including any 5% best bets, normally priced at $30.